Innovation, imagination, wonder. These are just some of the words used to describe Dr. Harvey Passes. Dr. Passes explores interesting people and ideas that will stimulate you. He questions the people who develop, create, and employ novel concepts in business and everyday lives. He especially loves to speak with successful people. How did they do it? How can you do it too? So let's join Dr. Harvey Passes in his quest of wonder and curiosity as we watch Dr. Harvey Passes Presents.
Do you ever walk through the streets of your town, if you live on Long Island, and you look left and right before crossing the street, and it doesn't matter that you've looked right, then you look left, and you cross, and all of a sudden, on the right, there's a car that wasn't there about a tenth of a second before that. And it becomes very dangerous. And you say to yourself, what am I, in Manhattan? What's going on here? And you realize that your small, little, sleepy bedroom community town on Long Island is a more dangerous place to walk around and walk across the streets especially than it should be, and more dangerous than being in Manhattan. Well, I have as my guest today an interesting individual who, with someone else, has helped to do something about this problem in a small town on Long Island called Manhasset. And it's very important for you to get a chance to see what is being done, because you could do the same thing in your town. So it's not a matter of you saying, well, I don't live in Manhasset. What do I care? You better care, because I'm telling you, all these small towns are pretty dangerous places. So listen up and see what goes on and see if you can do the same thing in your town. I'm going to introduce to you right now Steve Pinzino, Esquire. Steve, how are you?
Thank you, Harvey. Thank you for letting me show up today.
It's terrific, and I'm so glad that you came down here. Let me tell the folks a little bit home about you, and they'll have an appreciation for why I asked you to come here.
Great.
Steve Pinzino is an attorney, and he practices multiple areas of law, and from criminal to real estate to, just all sorts of areas in law. And he's got an office in Plandome, on Plandome Road in Manhasset, and he's on the main level. And he can look out the window, and he sees Plandome Road, and he sees people trying, the key word here is trying, to cross the street. And he sees cars almost killing people. And he finally got disgusted, and you can hear more about his story, excuse me, and he got involved with a lady who, I'm very sorry that she doesn't like to come in front of the camera, so I'll give her a little dig. She's a sweet, lovely person who is really the impetus behind forming an organization called the Coalition for a Safer Manhasset. And the lady's name is Katie Miller. So, Katie, we thank you very much, and that's the last we're going to talk about you. Okay, so Steve is here right now to talk as an attorney and as a co-chair.
That's right.
For the Coalition for Safer Manhasset. We're going to show the little tag that's here later on. We'll get a close-up of it. Okay, so is that a good way to open up the show?
Absolutely. I joined the Coalition for a Safer Manhasset in 2006 after seeing the increase in traffic and pedestrian safety issues on Plandome Road in Manhasset, a town I grew up in my whole life.
Right.
And it got to the point where I said I'd like to try and affect the problem. I'd like to help solve the problem if possible. Mm-hmm. And I went to a town hall meeting, the town of North Hempstead, where Miss Miller, and I won't mention her name again either, she showed up, told about the Coalition for a Safer Manhasset, standing room only. 300 plus people packed this meeting to tell the town their problems with traffic, mm-hmm. parking, and pedestrian safety issues. The coalition was founded, all volunteers, local residents in Manhasset who want to do something to solve the problem. Plandome Road is a very, very dangerous road.
It's one of the most dangerous in New York State.
One of the most dangerous in New York State for its distance.
For its distance.
Exactly. For such a short road to have the amount of illegal U-turns and double and triple parking and drivers trying to make 3 lanes out of 1 during rush hour, it's outrageous. So in 2005, the coalition was formed, and we've been taking steps with the town of North Hempstead and the 6th Precinct to try and do something about it.
Okay, hold on. Just don't get ahead of me here. You're going to give too much information. Why did Katie start this?
Katie started it because members of her family and her friends knew people who were in serious accidents on Plandome Road, knew people who were injured on Plandome Road, struck by cars striking other cars. She's lived here her whole life, and she wanted to do something about it. She saw the change herself from a sleepy little town of Manhasset to one of the most heavily traveled roads on Long Island.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's interesting. We were speaking with one of the guests here before. I won't mention his name. And he told you he's from Manhasset. He was crossing the street the other day, and a big SUV almost just knocked him over.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is absolutely incredible. Okay, so now what is the mission of the Coalition for a Safer Manhasset?
Our mission is to help educate residents about the importance of traffic and safety laws. Mm-hmm. Look out for your pedestrians. The roadway does not just belong to motorists. A lot of people walk on Plandome Road. We want to educate the community to help them realize what the law is and how they can help protect themselves and their neighbors in their daily chores and driving. We also want to help through our elected officials, town, county, and state, to improve the signage, to improve the pedestrian countdown markers, to make no U-turns and other signs more visible. Mm-hmm. Bring them up to snuff in a modern sense. More visible means more safety. And lastly, we wanted to help the 6th Precinct, Nassau County 6th Precinct, know which areas are the most problematic. Police officers have a lot of things to do. They can't be everywhere at once, nor should they be. We should be able to police ourselves to be courteous and safe. But if an area is very dangerous, we like to bring it to their attention so they know to give it a little check to stop by every day.
You know, I read the Manhasset Press, and I see in the Manhasset Press there are photos. Do you take those photos?
I don't take those photos. Those photos are sent in by
people,
residents. As well as other members of Coalition who don't have anything to do that day and are just going to stroll around and take pictures. The column is called, "How Can We Fix This Picture?" And what we like to do is show very obvious violations, U-turns, double parking, driving down Orchid Street the wrong way, driving down one-way streets, to show the community that this stuff happens, and it happens every day. A lot of towns on Long Island, both parents work, some parents work in the city. They may not see what's happening on a daily.
That's true.
Every day when they're at home and their children are at school. So we like to show this is what happens when you're not around.
I'll bet that most of those people who go into the city and use Manhasset as a bedroom community, so to speak, I'll bet they don't have a clue.
They don't have a clue because, again, they see it in the morning and they see it in the evening.
Not on the train.
And they don't see it on the train.
No, I'm saying they're on the train.
Right. They're
not driving. They're not. Well, they get to the train. They don't care, and they rush.
Absolutely. And one of the biggest problems on Plandome Road is because of the train line. Manhasset to New York City is 40 minutes. A lot of residents who Great Neck, Port Washington, Roslyn
converge.
They converge. Manhasset doesn't have the parking, doesn't have the ability to handle all of these cars coming to the same point at 5, 6 in the morning and leaving 5, 6 in the evening. Very, very, very congested because of that train
And people
line.
have no patience. They just want to get, come on, honk, come on, move.
Doctor, I'm sure you've seen in your years in Manhasset what we like to call an erosion of common courtesy. One of our campaigns is the 3 C's. Be courteous 3 times a day for a month, and we set this up once a year. It's so easy to not cut someone off, to not park in the pedestrian walkway, to give someone a chance to cross the street or make a turn. Everyone seems to be in such a rush for their daily errands, they forget that it's very dangerous to do these things. And no matter what you have to do, it's not worth putting someone else in danger.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. You mentioned it earlier, but how has the town of North Hempstead been with this?
They've been our partners.
Very supportive?
Absolutely, from the beginning. Again, working with politicians, they have their own schedule. They can't do things automatically, but it's been a good partnership. They understand our concerns, and because the town of North Hempstead is located on Plandome Road in Manhasset,
which is kind of
they can
ironic.
Look out their window and see it as well. So we're very grateful that they've been helping us since the beginning.
Now, what about the 6th Precinct, which is the Nassau County precinct that oversees all the activities in our area?
That's right. The 6th Precinct has been incredible. They don't have the manpower that they need to solve every traffic problem. They have a lot more important things to be doing with solving crimes on Long Island. But they have made it a point when we tell them there's a problem area, they step up enforcement. They have remote patrol cars there. They have officers on the ground. They want to put a presence on the ground to let people know that the 6th Precinct is around, and if you break the law, you will be ticketed. And that's important because a lot of people who use Planum Road don't live in Manhasset. They're coming to or from. They're getting to the expressway or going to another town. It's a very, very busy conduit street because it leads to a lot of other areas.
It's true.
And residents who don't read the Manhasset press, who don't know what the coalition is about, they may not know where the no U-turn sign is or what the speed limit is. And it's important to see police officers enforcing the law to give an example to everyone else. The 6th Precinct has been great.
Now, what do you see as some of the biggest challenges that Plandome Road faces?
Plandome Road is it's a little Main Street road, or it was.
Yeah.
It was never designed to handle
the massive influx.
The massive influx. People coming to use the train, people using it to get to the expressway from Port Washington. We had an enormous boom in construction of homes in the 80s in the areas surrounding Manhasset. And Plandome Road is Main Street of Manhasset. That's where people go to shop. That's where people go to the movies, eat. Exactly. Yeah. It was never designed to handle the load, and unfortunately, if you make the road wider, we'll have 6 cars fighting for one lane instead of the 3 that I see.
That's true.
The problems that we're trying to solve with the help of the town of North Hempstead is something called the visioning program.
Which means what?
The town of North Hempstead hired consultants to see how can we install traffic calming. How can we slow people down? How can we let them know that you can't fit 3 into 1? How can we better tell them where to park? How can we make it a less congested but still usable road that'll get you to where you need to go? There are several plans out there, and the town has taken the advice of residents and consultants and experts, and I expect we'll see some movement shortly on the steps they're going to take.
What changes or improvements have been done so far? Anything?
A lot.
What?
Actually, through the town, through the county, we have gotten pedestrian crosswalks, the countdown boxes. You'll actually hear an audible signal telling pedestrians when it's safe to cross and when it's not safe to cross. We've even gotten bigger and more visible signs installed. Be careful, watch out for pedestrians. We've had the lines repainted, the parking lines repainted. What we're trying to do is make it visible. You don't know it's a problem if you can't see it. And it helps to update all of the safety implements we already have. The signs are there for a reason. The laws are there for a reason. If people can see them, people hopefully will obey them.
But the hardest part is really the education. You can stick up a sign all you want, but if someone says, you know, I better make this light because the one after that's going to be an extra 2 minutes if I don't make it, and they try to jump the light.
Absolutely.
I mean, so you got to educate people that, you know, you can't do that.
I'm happy to say.
How do you do this?
I'm happy to say, well, it's not easy, and the negative reaction to people who want to do what they want to do has come. People don't want to always obey the traffic and pedestrian laws, but the good thing is, as we've gotten this problem into the public's attention, we've definitely noticed neighbors taking care of neighbors. You will see people looking 6 ways before they make that U-turn. They may make it, but they know that they may get their picture taken, or people on the street are watching them saying, hey, don't do that. We've definitely noticed that residents are enforcing the law by being courteous, by being civil, and telling their neighbors, hey, you can't do that. That's a one-way street, or that's double parking. You shouldn't do that. That's been a welcome change in Manhasset, where courtesy really took a nosedive. I think it's coming back.
Further down, further north on Plandome Road, there's an area where everyone always used to make a left turn. Now it says no left turn. I forgot the name of the street. It's up near where the cleaners and everything on the far left-hand side. I don't want to give you the names of the stores. But anyway, people still make the left turn. They refuse to not, even though the sign says no left turn. For years, it was never you were allowed to make a left turn. Now you can't do that.
No, you can't.
Now you can't do that, but people doing it anyway. And they're stopping the traffic. The cars can't move because someone is making an illegal left turn.
The pictures that you see in the Manhasset press, how can we fix this picture? Some of them they'd be laughable if it wasn't so dangerous. People making 3-point turns during rush hour putting themselves and 3 other cars around them in danger while on the cell phone.
While on the cell phone?
While on the cell phone.
That's just incredible to me.
And a cell phone is a big ticket. Your insurance company doesn't like it, but people can't seem to put the phone down and just drive. Well, one of our slogans is drive now, talk later. I agree with you. It's people that don't want to listen won't listen, but they're going to wind up with a couple of tickets, and if that's what has to be done, that's what has to be done. The 6th Precinct isn't shy about enforcing the law,
right?
Especially when they see someone making an obvious violation.
Right. Who actually has jurisdiction over Plandome Road?
The town of North Hempstead actually just got jurisdiction of Plandome Road.
I don't get it. I mean, what do you mean they just got it? I mean, who gave it up?
The county had it, and as part of an arrangement where there was an exchange of responsibility for parks and roadways, the town now has jurisdiction of Plandome Road, which is great because, like I said, they are on Plandome Road.
So they care. It's not someone who's removed.
It also saves local residents the trouble of bridging those different layers of government. How do I get a stop sign installed here? Is it a county problem? Is it a town problem?
I gotcha. So who takes care of the lights?
The lights in Nassau County. The lights in Nassau County and the signs in Nassau County.
We're talking about the traffic lights.
Correct.
So the traffic lights in Nassau County, so wait a second. This is kind of like wacky.
Well, before that, we could make it more wacky, talking about local village laws and who has jurisdiction over certain areas of the street and who has jurisdiction of painting. Now that the town has Plandome Road, we'll take that. It's a little closer to us, and it helps us get the message out a little more effectively.
This is very frustrating because there's too many people have their fingers in the pie. And it's difficult to handle all this. I mean, you see now if things change, you see now on the LIE, you see in Suffolk County, the sheriff is now taking care of the highways.
That's
you
right.
know about that.
That's right.
Right. You don't see the Suffolk County patrol cars now.
We've learned, unfortunately, that legislation is not easy, and getting laws passed and things change on the legislative level is not easy. But thankfully, the town has been very cooperative. The county has been very cooperative. And some of our members have gotten a real education in how do you communicate a local problem all the way up to the level of Albany, which we've done.
It's difficult because they don't want to. It's too small. It's nothing.
And it's a learning process. This group is made up of local residents. No one's an expert. We read and we learn and we try and.
But everyone's interested.
Everyone's interested, and the town is interested. The town is interested. Residents come out and say, thank you. We see the pictures. I've been complaining about this spot for years and no one's listened. Or that's the most dangerous corner in the world and I saw it last week. And we get a lot of pictures, a lot of digital photos sent to our web address from concerned residents. We do other things besides Plandome Road because remember, Plandome Road is the main thoroughfare, but the conduit streets, the streets inside, people live there. And people who know the traffic on Plandome Road will use those streets as a cut-through. Now, 50 miles an hour down a narrow residential block is not a good idea.
Right.
There's only so many ways in and out of Manhasset, and no one wants to wait for those lights. So we listen to local residents who live on those streets to solve their concerns, or at least bring their concerns to the level of attention. So
what are you currently working on as far as this whole thing is concerned, the coalition?
We're working to get that visioning process going. It started a few years ago, and as we've talked about, legislation and big projects take time, but certainly we need that traffic calming to start, whether it's medians, whether it's more curb cuts, whether it's more traffic lights or signs. Lots of plans were submitted, and the town is going to pick one and go with it, but we'd really like to get that going because traffic is not decreasing, it can only increase. The other thing we're doing is working with local merchants about the commercial parking or the lack thereof on Plandome Road. We talked before about real estate and the problems with landlords and renting spaces. Things aren't cheap. Manhasset is a great town, great businesses, great business owners. They have to get their deliveries. Manhasset is an old town, and they didn't plan for commercial parking and 18-wheeler loading and unloading spots. We've seen 18-wheelers parked in the middle of Plandome Road with cars trying to pass on both sides because there's no room. But people want to shop, businesses have to operate, and people have to be safe. So there has to be some kind of agreement or some kind of workout. How can we help fix this problem? Blame doesn't help anyone. It is what it is.
Right.
We have to make the best of it.
Can you get Manhasset, what can you do to get more Manhasset residents involved to help you?
We take volunteers of all shape, description. Our website, our P.O. box.
Yeah, let me give that information out, actually. Well, let me do that. If you want to learn more about this, either by living or working in Manhasset, or if you want to learn more, that maybe you can get some pointers so that you could use some of their experience in your town, anywhere on Long Island, you'll contact the Coalition for a Safer Manhasset, hence the acronym CSM, and their post office box is 556 Manhasset, New York, 11030. Again, Coalition for a Safer Manhasset, post office box 556, Manhasset, New York, 11030, and the email address is CSM, which is Coalition for Safer Manhasset. Again, CSM 556 at yahoo.com. And you get people expressing interest in this?
Lots of interest.
People from outside of Manhasset?
Actually, we do. One of our members is from Port Washington, and another one of our co-chairs attends a lot of conferences, both Suffolk County, New York State, Albany.
Mm-hmm.
Our group is small. Manhasset's a small town, but this is a problem that affects all of Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's town started small, and now the population has grown. The cars have grown. They're bigger. SUVs parking on curves to unload a delivery. It's not just Manhasset. It's happening all over.
All over, absolutely. I mean, look, the number one thing in business on Long Island, basically, really is parking and the automobile. You know, it's a difficult thing. And the terrible thing about Manhasset is that there's just no really good public parking place there.
Right.
Not like Great Neck or Port Washington.
No, the lots that they have in Manhasset have been there for years.
For all private lots, people use it for the train station.
That's another problem. If we don't get involved in the commuter parking and fighting with residents renting out spaces, just because it's such an old and ingrained issue. We want to stay focused on what we started, which was Plandome Road, the conduit streets, keeping that area safe.
Mm-hmm.
You can get lost in the red tape and the side battles. I think it's important to stay focused on the original mission, the reason why people came together to start this.
I am a member of the board of directors of the Manhasset Chamber of Commerce. So I know the answer to this, but I want it discussed so we get it out on television so people can hear it. How has the Manhasset Chamber of Commerce worked with you, if any?
They're a wonderful partner. The great thing about the Chamber of Commerce, it's community-centered and it's business-centered. They're there to help the local businessmen and they're there to help the local residents,
mm-hmm.
because most of the owners are residents, and if they're not, they're here all day long. They interact with residents. They know the commercial parking issue is big, and it's going to take everyone's help to find a solution. People need to shop, people want to shop, and businesses have to operate. There's nothing worse than seeing the vacant stores for rent on Plandome Road. It shouldn't be. I mean, people should be able to open a business and have customers be able to park, not double park, not triple park. There should be means for Manhasset to be a thriving business community, and the Chamber is working with us to try and help solve that commercial parking issue with the town of North Hempstead.
As a matter of fact, there's a big meeting tonight about it with the Chamber of Commerce and I think the powers that be in the town.
You're absolutely right, and you'll see several of our members there, and that's going to be one of the things that's going to come up is the commercial parking issue. It's problematic because it affects so many people, but it does no one any good if you can't park or there's triple parking. Those are two bad results of the problem we have. So,
that's true. To your knowledge, has there been any deaths?
We work with the 6th Precinct on finding statistics and things of that sort. We didn't want to publicize the negatives of how many accidents or how many pedestrians struck. Like I said, sometimes you can get bogged down in the minutia and pointing fingers and blame. We want to look to the future. The 6th Precinct knows what the problems are. They have the statistics. They're there every day.
But the public should really know. The public should know that, hey, I'm picking a number out of the air. There have been 10 deaths here in the past 3 months, and there's been, these X number of accidents. People might say, what are you talking about? There's no problem here.
A few years ago, we did have the 6th Precinct supply us with statistics for the number of accidents on Planham Road or in Manhasset generally. We put it on our site, and we disseminated the information through a few meetings that we had. Numbers only tell one story. Really, the education is what's important, because we've had calls where, as we discussed, one of the most dangerous, shortest areas of the road in Manhasset, and we've gotten calls, I don't believe you. I don't see it. I've been here for a while.
That's right.
So sometimes convincing people, the best way is through education, bringing the issue out to the forefront. Killing them with numbers and statistics, and now the 6th Precinct gets blamed because of an increase in accidents. The blame is not our position here.
I think this is an excellent idea. I was struggling because there was a question that I had for you earlier on that I just remembered now, and I didn't want time to go by without it. Has there been any towns that have done this successfully in the past that we could learn from?
That is a good question. You'll have to have me back so I can do some more research and tell you.
So you don't know
what town has won.
Right.
No.
Yeah. I'm curious to know if you might tell me. Massapequa had the same darn problem, and they did have deaths. I just picked that out of there. I don't know that Massapequa has a problem, but I'm just saying. And then you say, let me tell you what they've done. Maybe we can learn.
Well, there are some great examples in local towns. In Port Washington, installed in their pedestrian crosswalks orange stanchions.
What's that for?
It's a plastic movable barrier to show that cars shouldn't be crossing over the double yellow lines, which is an enormous problem in Manhasset. Cars moving around double parked cars are putting themselves into oncoming lanes of traffic.
Correct.
If you have orange stanchions at points or intersections, that can't happen.
Oh, I see.
Otherwise, you're going to see someone knock down an orange stanchion. It's going to be very obvious. What I see at 5 o'clock rush hour on Plandome Road, going south, I see lines of cars lined up on Plandome Road trying to get to the Shelter Rock Road and the LIE. To beat the light, I see cars jutting out into the oncoming lane of traffic and doing 50, 60 miles an hour to make a left onto one of those quiet residential streets we spoke about to try and beat the light. The light is 2 minutes, 4 minutes. But here we have people who are putting themselves and others at dangerous risk to save 2 to 4 minutes.
That's crazy. We're just about out of time. We're just like that.
Absolutely.
Just amazing. Do you think we accomplished what we had to? Is there any other point we need to make before we call it a day?
I think the most important point is when we educate each other and we remind ourselves that running errands and saving 2 minutes, putting yourself and others in danger, that's not the way it's supposed to be. Be courteous, be safe. We shouldn't have a police officer on every corner. We shouldn't need that. We should be able to do this ourselves and remember that the person you're cutting off, or when you stop in a pedestrian crosswalk and a mother with a child in a stroller has to put herself into harm's way to get around you, you're not helping anything. You're not helping yourself. You're harming your neighbor. Hopefully, through time, people will take the hint and be a little more neighborly and courteous to each other, and we won't have to have organizations like this.
It's just amazing. You don't see the problem that bad on Northern Boulevard, right?
Northern Boulevard, it reminds me of the Autobahn at times. It's a dangerous road, and like I said, Plandome Road, people are getting to Northern, they're getting to Shelter Rock Road, they're getting to the expressway. They're in a rush, and you can't have
the road can't handle it. Northern Boulevard can't. Plandome certainly can't.
Absolutely.
Steve Pinzino, I want to thank you very much for coming down.
My pleasure.
This was very good, and you'll come back again, and we'll discuss other things and see what's happening with this as time goes by.
We'll tell you how we did.
Yeah, I would like that very much, and I'm going to tell my crew that when we roll the credits, I want you to come in on this so we can end up the show with this wonderful little magnet, and you can contact the Coalition for Safer Manhasset and get one of these and put it on your car so people can see it. Again, it's Box 556, Manhasset, New York, 11030, and or csm556@yahoo.com. See if you can get on a close one on this. That would be great if you can do that. And then, and this is Dr. Pass. I'm getting so lost in this, but this is Dr. Pass saying, I hope you got a lot out of it, and please be courteous, be careful. The life you may save might be your own as well as your family. So we'll see you again next time. And Steve Pinzino, thank you very much for coming down.
Thank you for having me.
You're a busy guy, and I appreciate you putting in the time for this.
Thank you for the forum, Doctor.
Okay, we'll speak to you real soon about this. Let's close up the show with this as the backdrop. See if we can do that. and we'll use Jason's camera.